Okay. 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 Your Excellency, Under Secretary General Li Junhua, Your Excellency, Vice Chair Francis Gary, Your Excellency, Board Chair Tripti Sinha, Your Excellency, Secretary General Ren Xianliang, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is my great honor to welcome you to attend this open forum. We feel highly appreciated that UNDESA and the IGF provides us with a global platform for open dialogue on key digital issues. My name is Zhang Hui, Deputy Secretary General of the World Internet Conference, also known as the WIC. The WIC is an international organization committed to establishing a global internet platform for extensive consultation, joint contribution, and shared benefits, promoting the international community to follow the trend of digitalization, networking, and intelligence, to address security challenges for common development in the information age, and building community with a shared future in cyberspace. Today's session seemed bridging the digital divide, focus on the global south, highlights a key priority for inclusive global development. While challenges remain, the focus today is on solutions. How emerging technologies, particularly AI, can help expand access, strengthen digital capacity, and unlock new opportunities for the global south. We are honored to be joined by an exceptional group of speakers who are helping shape the future of digital governance. Among them are high-level representatives from international organizations, national regulatory bodies, and young representatives from emerging digital communities. First, I feel deeply honored to invite His Excellency Mr. Li Junhua, Under Secretary General for UNDESA. UNDESA leads global initiatives on sustainable development and has played a key role in shaping international cooperation on emerging technologies. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Excellencies, distinguished delegates. It is my great pleasure to join you today for this important gathering on bridging the digital divide with its vital focus on global south. I extend my sincere thanks to the World Internet Conference for convening this open forum. The theme of the digital divide could not be more urgent, as we increasingly relied on the digital technologies to access education, healthcare, jobs, services, and the civic participation. The divide between those who are connected and those who are not has become one of the defining challenges of our time. As technology evolves, so does the nature of the digital divide. It is no longer just the questions of cables, satellites, or cell towers. It is about affordable devices, the skill to use them, and the confidence and support needed to navigate the online world safely. It is a divide of the opportunities. Today, the 2.6 billion people remain offline, the majority living in the world's least developed or lower middle income countries. This is where the digital gap remains widest and where our efforts must now be consolidated. We must also recognize that the inequality within countries, even in those considered well-connected. Remote and rural populations, refugees, indigenous peoples, women and girls, and persons with disabilities continue to face barriers to full digital inclusion. These are not just the gaps in access, but gaps in opportunity, which calls for a renewed focus on digital capacity development, and building partnerships that are inclusive, innovative, and sustained. Forums like the World Internet Conference and the Internet Governance Forum are vital spaces for collaboration. They provide essential spaces for global dialogue, coordination, and collaboration on digital policy. Their true impact is realized when they are informed by what happens on the ground, because the roots of the digital divide are deeply local. The solution lies in empowering local communities. The IGF has evolved into a global ecosystem with over 176 national, regional, sub-regional, and youth IGFs now active worldwide. These local and regional processes are not just complementary to our global efforts, they are foundational. They give the communities a voice, surface the local innovations, and help shape the policies that are relevant, inclusive, and grounded in lived realities. To close the digital divide, we must strive for the inclusive cooperation between the global efforts and the grassroots processes. The priorities that emerged from the bottom up should guide the investment in infrastructure, human capacity, and meaningful partnerships, ensuring that no community is left behind in the digital age. Dear friends, dear colleagues, we now have a golden opportunity. The upcoming 20-year review of the World Summit on Information Society, or WISUS Plus 20, allows us to renew our commitment to digital inclusion and meaningful access for all. And we have made progress. In 2015, during the WISUS Plus 10 review, an estimated 4 billion people were offline. Today, allow me to reiterate, that number has dropped to 2.6 billion. This is a major improvement, but of course, still far too many remain unconnected. That's why there's every reason for all of us to intensify our efforts. Let's leverage the global platform to amplify the solutions, to collaborate, share, and work together to build a truly inclusive and equitable digital future for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Thank you, Mr. Lee. Next, it is our great pleasure to welcome Dr. Francis Gurry, Vice Chair of WRC, former WIPO Director General. He is a global authority on intellectual property and digital innovation.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much indeed, Under-Secretary Li Junhua, Secretary General Ren Xiaoliang, distinguished panelists and guests. It's so nice to be part of this forum and to see so many of you here participating on this exceptionally important topic in the context of this extremely important ongoing meeting of the Internet Governance Forum. Let me start with the very obvious point that digital technology has penetrated all aspects of our life. We're all very much aware of this, but I don't think we can repeat it sufficiently enough. We know that it is the basis of our economic production now, if not the basis, at least a major factor of economic production. It is responsible for cost efficiencies, quality outcomes, innovation, and competitive advantage in the field of the economy. And outside the economy, we're very much aware that digital technology enables or improves social communication, the delivery of social services such as health and medicine, cultural exchanges, and educational opportunities. So any impairment in the capacity to use any of these advantages that are conferred by digital technology is obviously a major disadvantage. digital technology is so important as the foundation of economic, cultural, social life now, that a lack of access or a disadvantaged access, of course, creates a major, major problem. And that disadvantage, that divide, we know exists within countries. There is an urban-rural divide, there is a gender divide, there is an age divide, and there is an income divide. And we know it exists between countries, which is the one that we are concentrating on and addressing today. Now, much good work has been done, and Under-Secretary General Lee has referred to some of this. There's the great work that's been done by the International Telecommunication Union, for example, the great work of the World Internet Conference in increasing number of fields, and the many, many other organisations that are involved in trying to address this major question of the digital divide. Despite the progress, and I think Under-Secretary General Lee has referred to the fact that we now have 2/3 of the world connected, but of course 1/3 still not connected. Despite the progress, I think we are at a real crisis point in relation to the digital divide. And that crisis, I think, comes from two challenges. The first challenge is the crisis in development funding that we are witnessing right at the moment. So it's estimated that next year there will be about 38% less development funding available around the world as a consequence of the change of attitude of the United States of America in relation to foreign aid, but also the diversion of funding by many European countries away from development and towards military spending, and so on around the world. So there is a massive crisis, we know, in relation to development funding. And on some estimates, it's scarcely sufficient to meet debt obligations. So this is the first problem we have. And the second problem is that never has funding and development assistance been more needed than at the present time, when artificial intelligence is coming online at such a speed that it is baffling to all of us. So artificial intelligence now is another general purpose technology that will exacerbate or risk exacerbating the digital divide. We know that there are many positive aspects of artificial intelligence, and some of those include, for example, open access, but there are the speed at which it is unfolding and the amounts of money that is being invested in the development of artificial intelligence by some of the leading economies are such that we are at a great risk of the exacerbation of the digital divide, especially given that development funding is suffering a crisis at the same time. So this, I think, is the essence of the problem that we confront right at the moment in relation to the digital divide. And I think it requires a major international strategic plan with all the major actors involved in order to ensure that we do not end up in a worse situation with the the arrival of these new artificial intelligence technologies, not so new perhaps now. We don't end up in a worse position. If you look, just one final example, at data centres around the world, essential to artificial intelligence infrastructure, you find that they are all, of course, or mainly in the north, with the exception of China. So we have a real potential crisis here, and I think a major international effort and strategic plan is required. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Gary. Next, it is our great honor to welcome Ms. Tripti Sinha, Board Chair of Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, or ICANN. She has extensive experience in Internet infrastructure and multi-stakeholder governance.
Thank you very much. And Thanks to the World Internet Conference for convening this very important discussion, and to my co-panelists for sharing this opportunity to speak to you today. So the digital divide, as you know, is not a new issue, and it continues to evolve in very complex ways, as my colleagues just stated. Today, the discussion is broader than access. It is also about participation and inclusiveness. The fact that 5 billion people are now online is significant. This growth was not accidental. It reflects years of coordination, technical cooperation, and a shared commitment to an internet that remains global, resilient, and accessible to all. But as Dr. Curry just said, we are in a financial crisis in the world, and priorities are shifting, and we are in a very, very difficult time. And we must treat this prevailing global digital divide with a sense of urgency. As the old adage goes, knowledge begets knowledge, wealth begets wealth, and those who possess these will only have the opportunity to obtain more. Similarly, innovation begets innovation. And for those who are not part of this opportunity ecosystem, they will suffer and they will fall behind. And during this time of yet another innovation and the change agent at play, which is artificial intelligence, this divide will continue to grow. So a global community of have and have-nots will only lead to future significant problems. We know the world will change in unknown ways with the application of artificial intelligence. However, we should leverage the advantages that come with AI as we begin to create a strategic blueprint to reduce this digital divide for the world community. So let's talk a little bit about AI, as it offers significant benefits for building out networks in unconnected markets. By enabling efficient resource allocation, proactive maintenance, and of course enhanced security, which is so needed in today's world. AI-powered solutions for addressing digital divide can also optimize network infrastructure, and we can apply the technology to intelligently assess opportunity gaps. So in terms of where do we start, we need to be infrastructure ready. There are many reasons why this divide exists. So let's talk about the infrastructure. Clearly, a blueprint will start with addressing the lack of physical cables and so on and so forth, and addressing the installation and putting an architecture in place to put the media together. And while this connectivity is essential, it's only one part of the equation. You will then need to light this infrastructure to begin to, get the bits and bytes flowing. So the internet depends on this very strong technical foundation that allows it to function reliably, securely, and at scale. And this foundation, as you know so well, includes the domain name system, IP addresses, and root service systems. These elements may not be visible to the user community. However, we need to come together as a global community to ensure that we can put these different parts together to bring connectivity to those who are unconnected. At ICANN, we help coordinate this layer of the internet. We work to maintain the stability and security of the DNS. We manage and facilitate the Internet's unique identifier systems. We support the deployment of root server operations in underserved regions. And we also partner with technical operators and institutions across the Global South to help strengthen local capacity and resilience. ICANN, of course, doesn't build physical infrastructure. We coordinate key systems with colleagues around the world that makes connectivity reliable and sustainable. However, there's yet another barrier, and that's the barrier of language. Today, millions of users still cannot fully engage with the internet in their own language or script, and this speaks to locality. And ICANN's work on universal acceptance and internationalized domain names directly addresses this. These initiatives ensure that domain names and email addresses and local scripts work across devices, applications, and platforms. And this can only be possible if the technical community comes together, those who operate up and down the technology stack to make this happen. These capabilities are critical for cultural and linguistic participation in this new digital economy. A multilingual internet should not be a feature. It is a requirement for equitable access. So we encourage governments and institutions to integrate universal acceptance into national ICT strategies and public service delivery. The technical steps are clear. The impact, particularly for multilingual and underserved communities, is significant. So closing this divide also depends significantly on coordination. ICANN was created as a multi-stakeholder organization, bringing together governments, the private sector, civil society, the technical community, and others to help manage these critical internet resources. That model continues to be very relevant, and it's open, it's collaborative, and technically grounded, has helped keep the internet stable and interoperable and global. We must continue to embrace it. So this coordination should not be assumed. Fragmentation at the technical level is a real and growing risk. An increasing number of governments are exploring state-led approaches to infrastructure and governance. Some are talking about a creation of a new multilateral model of internet governance, which could result in serious issues in the functioning or even the existence of the single interoperable internet. Of course, national interests are legitimate. No one's disagreeing with that. However, divergence from global technical norms threatens the internet's core functionality, especially for the countries from the global south that could find themselves separated from the global internet and part of some other networks that are not compatible. The Internet Governance Forum and other multi-stakeholder spaces help maintain alignment where it matters most, at the technical layer. They provide neutral platforms to resolve tensions and share solutions without imposing uniformity. The future of universal, affordable access depends on infrastructure that works, governance that adapts, accessibility above and beyond prevailing norms by applying universal acceptance, and participation that reflects the diversity of those who use the internet. At ICANN, we remain committed to supporting this future by working with partners across the world, indeed with the Global South, to expand technical resilience, enable multilingual access, and help keep the internet globally connected. And hopefully we can close the digital divide. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tripti Sinha. Next, it is our great pleasure to welcome Mr. Zhenxian Liang, Secretary General of the WRC. He has actually pushed forward the WRC's transformation into a global platform for inclusive digital dialogue. 有请。不用哎。
尊敬的李俊华副秘书长，尊敬的弗朗西斯·高瑞副理事长，尊敬的崔普提辛哈董事会主席，各位嘉宾、女士们、先生们，大家好！很荣幸在联合国互联网治理论坛这一全球性平台上，与各位共同探讨弥合数字鸿沟，关注全球南方这一重要议题。在此，我仅代表世界互联网大会对 IGF 秘书处提供举办此次论坛的宝贵机会表示衷心感谢，向到场的各位嘉宾表示热烈欢迎。世界互联网大会国际组织起源于2014年中国的乌镇峰会，经过8年发展，于2022年正式转型为国际组织。我们以携手构建网络空间命运共同体为宗旨使命，致力于推动全球互联网发展治理体系的共建、共治、共享，搭建了政、产、学、研多方交流合作的重要桥梁。当前数字技术发展迅猛，但数字鸿沟仍是制约全球可持续发展的核心挑战之一。数字基础设施薄弱、能力建设滞后等，导致许多全球南方国家和群体被排除在数字化进程之外。 错失了新时代的发展机遇。在2025年世界互联网大会亚太峰会上，萨摩亚通信监管局局长吉萨帕塞尔女士的一句“我们不想被落下”，深深触动了在场的每一位嘉宾，也让我们更加坚定了推动全球数字包容的决心。世界互联网大会始终将弥合数字鸿沟作为构建网络空间命运共同体使命的题中之义，也是对联合国不让任何一个人掉队承诺的积极回应。我们在以下3个方面持续努力，并取得了一系列务实的成果：一是搭建合作网络，汇集发展动能。世界互联网大会作为会员制的国际组织，已吸纳来自6大洲40个国家的195家会员，包括全球移动通信系统协会等国际组织、高通、英特尔、AMD、中国电信、中国联通、中国移动、腾讯、拼多多等全球领军企业，清华大学、香港科技大学等科研机构。会员队伍中约60%来自发展中国家和地区，不乏来自全球南方的重要代表，如非洲互联网之父尼奎诺、智慧非洲联盟等。依着会员网络，我们不断推动南南合作深化、南北合作升级，努力构建更加公平包容的全球数字发展新格局。二是举办论坛活动，聚集全球共识。我们举办乌镇峰会、亚太峰会等会议论坛，持续聚焦发展中国家的关切，推动务实合作，设立世界互联网大会杰出贡献奖、领先科技奖等品牌项目，发掘在推动数字普惠、赋能弱势群体等方面的优秀实践案例，成立数字研修院，为发展中国家政府、企业和社会组织提供能力建设支持。在世界互联网大会各项活动中，我们始终重视全球南方的代表性。2024年乌镇峰会吸引了来自104个国家和地区的代表，其中近70%来自发展中国家。越来越多全球南方的知识经验被写入全球议程。三是发布重要成果，推动共同行动。我们发布携手构建网络空间命运共同体行动倡议，以普惠包容的人工智能治理赋能全球可持续发展研究报告、II 公益行动计划、2023-2025年等成果文件，并联合15家国际机构向联合国提交全球数字契约提案，为全球数字治理、推动数字包容提供建设方案。女士们、先生们，联合国提出不让任何一个人掉队的目标，是我们的共同愿景。构建更加开放包容的数字生态，需要全球努力。在此，我想提出4点倡议：一是坚持互联互通优先，加快基础设施建设。当前，全球仍有约26亿人未接入互联网。连上网是用好网的前提。我们应推动光缆网络、5G、数据中心等关键设施向发展中国家延伸，注重基础设施的可持续运营，让数字福利真正造福当地。二是强化能力建设投入，提升数字素养和技能水平。数字时代，教育和培训是最大的平权期。 我们应加大对全球南方国家青少年、女性、小微企业从业者等人群的赋能力度，通过设立数字技能培训中心、开发本土化课程等方式，为其打开通往数字未来的大门。三是完善全球数字治理机制，保障发展中国家的参与权。当前，发展中国家在标准制定、数据主权、技术监管等关键治理议题上的话语权亟待提升。我们呼吁国际社会在多边多方参与的框架下，将南方国家的实践纳入全球治理方案，实现共建、共治、共享的美好愿景。四是加强国际合作，拓展多边参与渠道，弥合数字鸿沟，离不开全球的共同努力。我们支持在联合国框架下加强国际合作，也鼓励各方在多边平台上深化交流。作为国际组织，世界互联网大会诚挚邀请更多来自全球的企业、机构和个人加入会员，并开展合作，以我们携手促进技术共享、能力互补，共同构建多元参与、互利共赢的数字未来。女士们、先生们，弥合数字鸿沟不仅是技术问题，更是发展问题、公平问题。世界互联网大会愿与各方一道，持续推动数字技术向善，为全球南方注入更强的发展动能。让我们共同努力，携手构建网络空间命运共同体，让互联网成为全球人民共享的福祉。谢谢大家。
Thank you, Mr. Zheng. Next, it's our great honor to welcome Ms. Qi Xiaoxia, the Director General of International Cooperation Bureau of Cyberspace Administration of China. She has extensive experience in international cyberspace exchange and cooperation. Welcome.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, friends, good morning. I'm very pleased to be part of this distinguished panel discussing how to promote digital development and bridge digital divide for the Global South. At present, as a collective of emerging market countries and developing countries, the Global South has stepped onto the historical stage with great strides, injecting new impetus to global development and new progress for global governance. It has attracted the attention and anticipation of the international community. However, at the same time, the digital development deficit in the Global South has become a weak link and a challenge that cannot be ignored as mankind embraces the digital age. How to bridge the digital divide and ensure that the Global South does not fall behind in the digital age is a common task facing the international community. As a natural member of the Global South, China has had the Global South at heart and been deeply rooted in the Global South. China regards assisting the development of the Global South and bridging the digital divide as an unshakable international responsibility. In 2015, Chinese President Xi Jinping unveiled the vision of building a community with a shared future in cyberspace, contributing China's wisdom and approach to the development and global governance of the Internet. The vision advocated prioritizing development and deepening international exchanges and cooperation in the digital field. It has responded effectively to the development demands and common concerns of the Global South in the digital age and provided important guidance for helping the Global South bridge the digital divide, narrow the digital divide, and enable more countries and people to share the fruits of Internet development. In the face of the wave of AI development, President Xi Jinping emphasized the need to carry out extensive international cooperation on AI, helping the Global South countries strengthen their technological capacity building and making China's contributions to bridging the global intelligence gap. To help the Global South bridge the digital divide, China is not only an advocate, but also a promoter and a pioneer. Under the theme of building a community with a shared future in cyberspace, we have continuously hosted World Internet Conference Wuzhen Summit, providing an important platform for exchanges and cooperation for the Global South to share the dividends of digital development. For 4 consecutive years, the Wuzhen Summit has released a collection of practice cases of jointly building a community with a shared future in cyberspace, providing useful reference experiences for the Global South in bridging the digital divide. In July last year, the UN General Assembly adopted the China-sponsored resolution enhancing international cooperation on capacity building of artificial intelligence. China has prioritized the follow-up implementation of the resolution and announced an action plan with 10 major actions to fulfill the visions of the Global South in 5 aspects, which contribute to strengthening AI capacity building for the Global South. Last year, Chinese think tanks jointly launched the research report on global AI governance, identified AI divide and international collaboration as one of the 10 key issues in global AI governance, and proposed a clear path of action to help the Global South bridge the intelligence divide. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, development is the master key to solving all problems, and it is also the common aspiration and the general expectations of the Global South. Looking to the future, the Global South should become a highland for digital innovation and development rather than a swamp left behind in sharing digital dividends. I would like to share 3 observations on how to accelerate bridging digital divide and create highlights of the Global South. Firstly, the right to development of the Global South should be upheld in the spirit of equality and mutual respect. Development is an eternal theme of human society and the right of all countries rather than an exclusive privilege of the few. China advocates respect for sovereignty in cyberspace and maintains that all countries, regardless of size, strength, and wealth, are equal members of the international community and have the right to independently choose their own path of internet development and model of governance. Chinese think tanks have actively followed up and studied the issue of sovereignty in cyberspace and have successively released Sovereignty in Cyberspace Theory and Practice version 1.0 to 4.0, which provides an in-depth and systematic study and explanation of the specific issues related to the application of sovereignty in the process of digital-driven, internet-based, and smart growth, and contribute to the theoretical support of safeguarding the right to digital development for the Global South. Facing the issue of our time to help the Global South bridge digital divide, China will always be committed to respecting sovereignty in cyberspace and work with the international community to respect the path of digital development and the models of governance of all countries, jointly oppose cyber hegemony and the politicization of technological issues with a view to fostering a favorable environment conducive to digital development for the Global South. Secondly, practical cooperation should be strengthened to enhance digital capacity for the Global South. AI and other emerging technologies are on the rise, dramatically enhancing mankind's ability to understand and transform the world, while at the same time raising the threshold of digital development capacity. In addition to international cooperation in capacity building under the framework of the United Nations, we have organized cybersecurity training workshops for Latin America and Caribbean countries and for ASEAN countries to carry out targeted training in digital capacity. Next, we will organize 5 more training workshops for the Global South with a view to continuously strengthening digital capacity building for the Global South. We call on the international community to join hands in helping the Global South to enhance its digital capacity and help bridge the digital divide by building a multi-channel exchange platform, carrying out assistance and training projects, and promoting the sharing of knowledge on AI and other emerging technologies. Thirdly, efforts should be made to promote collaborative governance and amplify the voice of the Global South in digital governance. At present, global digital governance is at an important crossroads, and the Global South presents an important force for improving global governance. Listening to more voices from the Global South can better help bridge the digital divide. China has organized the China-ASEAN Digital Governance Dialogue, China-Africa Internet Development and Cooperation Forum, and the China-CELAC Internet Development and Cooperation Forum, and has deeply engaged in cooperation on digital governance under the platforms such as APEC, the BRICS, and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, thus contributing more solutions to global digital governance. China is willing to work with the international community to support more active and broader participation by the Global South in the digital governance processes of the United Nations, regional multilateral organizations, and specialized agencies. China aims to promote the enhancement of the representation and the voice of the Global South in global digital governance so as to make the will of the Global South be reflected in a more balanced and reasonable manner and further consolidate the international consensus on bridging the digital divide. Thank you for the attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Qi. Now we welcome Dr. Ni Quina, who is chairman of Ghana.com, the father of Internet in Africa, Internet Hall of Fame inductee, and awardee of WRC Distinguished Contribution. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, thanks very much for the opportunity for me to share a session with such excellent speakers. In my perspective, it's about time to mobilize additional attention on bridging the digital divide to address the systemic issues that impede efforts to eliminate divides with the Global South. Although the digital divide is a very difficult challenge and pervasive, some countries are making progress in preventing its widening. Technology divides have a long history, as was mentioned earlier. In the 70s, we were missing human resources to initiate computer science institutions or build enterprise systems. In the 80s, we faced scientific instrumentation, computer interfacing deficiencies, VLSI, and in the 90s, Internet arrived in our countries with even more divides. It appears every new technology comes with its distinct divides, and some may widen other divides. However, addressing known limitations of infrastructure and costs, quality education, and digital governance will determine effective participation by the Global South in the digital economies. Emerging internet communities like in Africa feel fortunate with the open practices that give us a chance to be globally involved. The open standards, open documentation, and open participation have been particularly helpful in building capacity and networks addressing digital divide. Though we've made good progress with Internet, we have several challenges. Observations on resilience of Internet in Africa show a ready digital economy at about half midway user penetration, but has fragile infrastructure and known technical capacity needs. In spite of these challenges, the number of data centers, connectivity, exchange points, capacity, and users are all improving. Africa is at 4.4 domain names per 1,000, where global is 45 per 1,000. 10 CCTLD registries have 92% of names. There are 13 ICANN globally accredited registrars in Africa, and demand for hosting and data centers continue to increase. With an increasing attention on growing the infrastructure, the number of users in Africa region would soon be second only to Asia. The burgeoning REN Research and Education Network ecosystem is becoming active with regional RENs and national RENs and campuses. The infrastructure is working by standards, best practices, regulation of operators, and technical capacity. The approaches here are inherently multi-stakeholder and more bottom-up community discussions. The multi-stakeholder approach has its potency well known, but is also known to have requirements. Participants must be knowledgeable, and a minimum level of participation is necessary to avoid capture, and can sometimes result in a decision by fatigue. It also needs a meritorious moderator to call consensus in deliberations. When the requirements are not adequately addressed, the multi-stakeholder approach, bottom-up approach, can be subjected to various manipulation and gaming. As in the ongoing challenges with the African Normal Registry, whose lack of consensus among resource members has caused a review of the arrangements around regional internet registries. Fortunately, this impasse, like the internet itself, the African registry core functions have shown resilience, and there are lessons learned to improve the governance. Participation in global MS organizations is voluntary or by paid staff of organizations. The Global South can have challenges finding, therefore, good participants. How to make the multi-stakeholder approach work better in the Global South might be a governance digital divide issue to be addressed. We continue to deepen our foundation to cope with the emerging technologies and learn how to manage with our limited resources, yet be able to be on the supply chain. We've been wrong on many aspects of our strategy as well. With weak foundations, power, general infrastructure, skills, science education, our efforts were not good enough to meet the rapid growth of access speed, quality, and need for IPv6 access technology upgrades. We ended up in a never-ending race with no critical mass. The struggle for content and service went hard, with some dominant providers with concentration and consolidation. The economic model of the internet, never favorable to newcomers, has not eased things for the Global South. Where is the revenue to maintain and improve and develop infrastructure services constantly? The fast tracking of things for immediate results creates inadequate policies, expertise-deficient ecosystem that is unable to address the challenges and coping with the future. The non-existence of a stimulative and adaptive framework for rapidly evolving technology tends to hibernate innovations. What can we do? We can review the frameworks and make policies to enable innovation and creation and not just regulate usage. We have to build up on science education, optimize the use of data centers and exchange points and other existing infrastructure. Lots of effort and resources have been put in these, and prudent to preserve the investment. Optimize knowledge transfer and capacity building through strong fundamental and intergenerational mentorship and coaching. Digital divide is tough. Therefore, in addition to all ongoing efforts, we welcome increased attention on it. We are encouraged by technical cooperation opportunities on global governance and digital divide, a South-South cooperation and collaboration leveraging WIC's multi-stakeholder network to join in dealing with digital divides of the global South is a useful addition. The maturing AI technology threatens the digital divide the most, given associated high cost of infrastructure, high power requirements, and technical skills needed to be on the supply side. Hence, attempt to harness AI to address the digital divide in this forum is insightful, might prevent it generating divide, and bring real meaning to AI for good, AI for digital unity. I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Quinner. Now, let's give the floor to our youth leader. We welcome Mr. Chen Chung-Tam, Special Functional Officer at the Ministry of Communications of Malaysia, and also a 2024 Global Youth Leader. He supports Malaysia's digital strategy and regional innovation programs. Welcome.
Selamat sejahtera, 大家好, Wanakkam, and good morning from Malaysia. It is a great honor to be here, not only as a representative of the youth, but also one from Southeast Asia, to speak about an issue affecting not just economies, but also the very heart of our societies, the digital divide. In Malaysia, we say muafakat membawa berkat, bersekutu bertambah mutu, reflecting our belief that unity brings great things. In our ultra-connected world, this spirit has never been more important. Yes, the rapid advancement of digital technology has brought incredible opportunities, but it has also widened gaps. In a global south, communities are still being left behind due to unequal access, high cost, and also limited digital skills. As artificial intelligence, cloud services, and the digital economy continue to accelerate, these gaps risk turning into chasms. The ITU Facts and Figures 2024 starkly highlight this uneven progress. While 5.5 billion people are online today, a third of the world, predominantly in the global south, rural, low-income areas, remains disconnected. Internet use is almost universal in high-income nations, but drops to just 27% in low-income economies. Even as 5G expands, its reach in the poorest countries is a mere 4%. This digital exclusion mirrors existing social and economic inequalities, demanding urgent action. That is why our policies must be open, inclusive, accepting of one another, and most importantly, human-centric. The internet, after all, is not just a tool for commerce or entertainment. It has become a lifeline, a platform for learning, for healthcare, for livelihoods, and for communities to connect and support one another. Malaysia takes this very seriously. As chair of ASEAN in 2025, we champion inclusivity and sustainability as our theme for the year. As our theme, it is not enough to just grow fast. We must grow together and sustainably. Our Kuala Lumpur Declaration, sealed this May, envisions a shared future where no one is left behind. Recognizing these disparities, Malaysia has actively deployed tangible solutions. Our National Information Dissemination Centres, or NADI centres, exemplify this commitment. With 1,069 operational nationwide, these hubs provide collective internet access and vital ICT training, bridging the gaps for rural and urban poor communities. In a significant collaboration, the Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission, MCMC, and Microsoft has launched the AI Teach Skills for AI-enabled economy program at NADI centres, directly equipping local communities with crucial AI skills. Our Jendela plan further strengthens this foundation. As of December 2024, Jendela has equipped over 9 million premises with fibre optic access, boosted median mobile download speeds to 105 Mbps, and also extended internet coverage in populated areas to 98.66%. These efforts ensure a more equitable quality of digital experience regardless of location. Beyond infrastructure, we champion digital literacy and skills for the AI era. Initiatives like AI Untuk Rakyat enhance emerging tech skills across Malaysians. And through the Ministry of Human Resources National Training Week 2025, nearly 400,000 teachers nationwide are receiving large-scale upskilling, including comprehensive AI training to prepare our generation for a future-ready education. Take AI governance, for example. Malaysia has developed the national guidelines on AI governance and ethics and collaborated with ASEAN on their AI guide. In both, we prioritize people and not just systems. Ethical inclusive AI is not just a luxury for the Global South, but a necessity for equitable development. We aim to advocate for digital governance frameworks that empower and uplift every community. Now, as a doctor myself working in public health, I've seen firsthand how the digital divide carries a very real, very tangible consequences. At the time when a surgeon in Rome can perform an operation on a patient in Beijing through 5G-powered surgical robots, far too many communities still struggle to access even basic online health consultations or timely public health information. This gap is about lives. Digital exclusion deepens health inequities, cutting off access to life-saving services and vital health education. Digital inclusion is not just an economic imperative, it is also a public health priority. And while we look at macro-level solutions, we must not forget the micro. The Southeast Asian kampong spirit, which means looking out for your neighbor, remains really strong. We should embrace this globally, creating spaces where no one is left behind. Women, youth, persons with disabilities, refugees, and vulnerable populations must be given platforms to be heard and to lead. As part of the Global South, Malaysia will collaborate with ASEAN, Africa, Latin America, and the Pacific to co-develop tailored solutions. The Global Youth Leaders Program, organized by the World Internet Conference, is an inspiring example of bringing diverse young changemakers together. We must ensure such opportunities exist for the marginalized, not as a token, but also as a core part of our digital future. Let us collectively build bridges, not walls. Let us harness digital governance not as a tool of control, but as a platform for empowerment. And let us remember that the true measure of our digital progress is not in how we advance our systems are, but in how many lives we uplift along the way. Terima kasih, thank you, and may we 风雨同舟，携手共进, move forward together. Thank you.
Thank you to all our distinguished speakers. Today, we will prioritize forward-looking solutions to bridge the digital divide in the Global South. This open forum reflects a growing international consensus that inclusive dialogue and global engagement are essential to building a trusted, accessible, and people-centered digital future. Looking ahead, the WRC is committed to deepening our cooperation with the Global South, listening, engaging, and co-creating pathways to digital empowerment. On behalf of the WRC, thank you once again for your participation, insights, and ongoing dedication. We look forward to continuing this vital conversation and working together to build a more inclusive, human-centered digital future. See you next year.